Ladies and gentlemen, whatever place it is that you're tuned on to this show, this Life Signatures podcast, a teaching podcast, an inspirational podcast, a motivational podcast for the sake of these topics, purpose, productivity, and resilience. From whatever place you're tuned in, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. You found us in the middle of a series. We've been talking about reputation. Over 15 episodes have gone into this. We started by dealing with the things that are important, why it is important for us to make sure that we are caring about our reputations. And then 3 episodes back, we started talking about what we stand to lose with a bad reputation. It's like a mirror. It's like the same, basically just the same message, but we are emphasizing why reputation is that particularly important. So in the episode today, we will look at one more thing that is important, one more thing that you and I stand to lose, which is critical, by the way. We stand to lose in case we have a bad reputation. So stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
Yesterday in the episode, we started talking about how critical it is to have trust. And we say that it doesn't matter whether you spoiled your reputation or someone else falsely spoiled that reputation. The end result, the cost, the price you pay for a bad reputation is lack of trust. Loss of trust. People cannot entrust you because they do not trust you. You just look at their eyes, they look away. They cannot commit themselves unless. But for the most part, you find it very difficult to do life when you cannot be entrusted or when trust has been lost. It's very difficult. Very extremely difficult. And sometimes people with a bad reputation and they find it difficult in a particular setting, what do they normally do? They move to another place where people do not know them, and they maybe start building a new reputation. Or they fight to clean themselves up, to clean this reputation. They fight to clean it up and make sure that it is stellar. And it's possible, by the way. Maybe I should talk about this at a later date. It is possible. Once your reputation has been messed up, it is possible to build it back up again. We talked about this in the previous episodes when we talked about Tiger Woods having his marriage collapse, and then sponsors just ditching him and all that stuff. And then 4 years down the line, he is being recognized by the United States president as a stellar citizen, given an award for being a stellar citizen. He built his reputation back up. And if you thought it was just for the sake of that, no, he went back again and won another green jacket in golf. And now we're seeing inspirational shots about a mirror between him and his son. Beautiful stuff. If a reputation is lost, if trust has been lost, it is easy to recover, but there is a price that we normally pay for this. But then the second thing that happens when you've lost a reputation, or when a reputation has been spoiled, a bad reputation will break relationships. It goes without saying. Basically, the very basic, the entry point of any relationship is a good reputation. You've never seen someone trying to befriend, unless you are, bird of the same feather. You've never seen someone trying to befriend so badly someone with a bad reputation. It just doesn't happen that way. Unless you're birds of the same feather, unless you like what the other person likes and you don't give a hoot what other people think about that. But the basic entry level of any relationship is a good reputation. So when a reputation goes south, when a reputation is spoiled, relationships are broken. Sometimes sadly, in very close relationships, husband, wife, father, son, mother, daughter, whatever it is, employer, employee. When you hear that your employer has been involved in human sacrifice, even that employer is giving you loads of cash in terms of salaries and so on, you are not going to be comfortable unless that reputation is mended. That relationship that you have with that employer is certainly going south, is going to end. The nucleus of close relationships is trust. We talked about this yesterday. But once trust is lost, the relationship that you are in is broken. As already explained, a bad reputation will almost always affect relationships. Almost always. Without relationships, one cannot make it in this life. And that's why it is foolhardy for someone to claim that they are quote-unquote, self-made. There's nobody who is self-made. And I know the point that you're trying to drive home when you talk about self-made. You're trying to tell us that, they did not have privileges, or they just worked their butts off, excuse the French, or they just were hard-working people and they just committed and they're just tenacious, and therefore they became self-made. But along the way, they built relationships, so they had relationships. If you talk about Steve Jobs, he had a Steve Wozniak and he had a Mark Markula. The relationships were there. And if imagine at the moment that Steve Jobs needed, or Steve Wozniak needed Steve Jobs, and one of them has a bad reputation, probably will not have Apple. Or Mark Markula, who invested $250,000 in the startup back then. Imagine if there's a bad reputation, if those two guys, the Steves, Wozniak and Jobs, if they had a bad reputation and Markula says, I cannot do business with you people. That relationship would have been broken, and there will be no Apple to begin with. That's how important it is. Any broken relationship, most of the broken relationships, if you look carefully, you find a semblance of a bad reputation, something bad being happened and that is not being cleaned up. That's why it's foolhardy. It's foolhardy to have a bad reputation and you don't care about it. Every time it should prick your heart. Every time your relationships are on the rocks because of either the bad reputation that you have, it should prick your heart. People seldom want to be identified with someone whose reputation has taken a massive hit, unless, of course, the person involved is contrite, is repentant, asks for forgiveness, and makes a turnabout, and goes specifically to make sure that they pay for what damages they caused so that they can build that reputation back up. It is just that way. If you are having a bad reputation, one of the things that will be a victim, what you stand to lose, will be many relationships, including key relationships that you have been riding on for your success. And sometimes we take these relationships for granted until they go, until we've lost that relationship. That's when we know how important it was. It's so easy for us human beings to take things for granted that are always there. We take a day for granted because it's always there. You're going to wake up to another day. You're going to wake up to another 24 hours. It is the moment when you know that 24 hours is crucial. Probably you've been knocked by a car and now your life is hanging on the balance and you're in the high dependency unit in hospital, and you cannot work, you cannot type away, you cannot scroll on social media as you used to. That's now when you know how important that 24 hours was for you. The same thing applies to relationships. Sometimes you can just do life not caring about your reputation, saying, I don't care, I don't give a damn, I don't give a hoot. It's my life, it's mine. Until that relationship is not there. That's when you know how important it was. So anytime you have a semblance of a bad reputation, anytime something happens to your reputation, please notice that the first casualty, one of the first casualties of that relationship or that reputation is relationships. And some of those relationships are key to your life. So take care of that. Tomorrow we're going to look at yet another reason or yet another thing that we stand to lose if we lost our reputation or if you messed up our reputations. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.